In this video, we'll be exploring the 10 countries where Indians face significant travel restrictions or are outright banned from entering in 2024. Whether due to political tensions, strict visa regulations, or safety concerns, these nations have become difficult or nearly impossible for Indian citizens to visit. As global travel continues to evolve, various countries have implemented policies that make it challenging for Indians to gain entry, either temporarily or permanently. From nations facing internal conflicts to those with restrictive immigration laws, we'll take a closer look at the reasons behind these travel barriers. Whether you're planning a trip abroad or just curious about the state of global travel restrictions, this video will offer insights into the countries Indians should be cautious about when considering international travel in 2024. Stay tuned as we uncover the top 10 countries where Indians are not welcome this year. 10. Syria. Syria remains a war-torn country, and Indian travelers face extreme risks if attempting to visit. The ongoing conflict, terrorism, and political instability make it a dangerous destination. The Indian government has issued strong advisories against traveling to Syria, and the Syrian government imposes strict visa regulations, often denying entry to Indian nationals. Even if visas are granted, the country's lack of infrastructure, safety concerns, and widespread violence make it virtually impossible for Indians to travel there. As of 2024, Syria remains off limits to Indian travelers due to the persistent conflict and humanitarian crisis. 9. Yemen. Yemen is currently in the midst of a severe humanitarian crisis and armed conflict, making it one of the most dangerous countries in the world. The Indian government has issued strict travel advisories against visiting Yemen, and the country's visa policies reflect the security situation, with many foreign nationals, including Indians, unable to obtain entry. The ongoing conflict, along with widespread terrorism, kidnappings, and violence, makes Yemen an extremely unsafe destination for any traveler. For Indians, Yemen is essentially inaccessible in 2024, with both the Indian and Yemeni governments discouraging any travel to the region. 8. Libya. Libya, like Iraq, is a highly unstable country, and the Indian government has issued strict advisories against traveling there. Due to ongoing civil conflict, terrorism, and the breakdown of law and order, Libya is considered one of the most dangerous places in the world for foreign travelers, including Indians. The Libyan government has imposed stringent visa restrictions, and many foreign nationals, including Indians, are outright barred from entering the country. Additionally, there is a high risk of kidnapping and violence against foreigners, making it an unsafe destination. As a result, Libya is effectively off limits to Indian travelers in 2024. 7. Iraq. Iraq remains a highly restricted destination for Indian travelers due to ongoing political instability and security concerns. The Indian government strongly advises against travel to Iraq due to the risks of terrorism, armed conflict, and kidnapping. Furthermore, Iraq's visa process for Indian nationals is complex, and the country has been known to deny visas to Indian travelers without clear explanations. The lack of safety and the potential dangers involved in visiting Iraq make it an inaccessible destination for Indians in 2024. The security situation in the country remains volatile, and even those who manage to secure a visa face significant risks while traveling in the region. 6. Qatar. Qatar, despite being a major employer of Indian expatriates, has some restrictions in place for Indian tourists and workers. While Indians can apply for a tourist visa, the process can be cumbersome, and there are concerns about the treatment of Indian workers in the country. Reports of labor abuses and restrictive employment conditions for Indian expatriates have made Qatar a less favorable destination for Indian tourists. Additionally, the country's conservative social norms and strict laws can be difficult for Indian tourists to navigate. Although Qatar is not outright closed to Indian visitors, the challenges associated with its visa process and the treatment of workers make it a less desirable travel destination. 5. Oman. Oman, while generally open to tourism, has specific restrictions that can affect Indian travelers, particularly those seeking employment or residency. While Indians can apply for a tourist visa to visit Oman, the process can be lengthy and approval is not always guaranteed. For Indian workers, Oman has introduced more stringent visa requirements, making it harder to secure work permits. This has created a sense of unease among Indian expatriates in the country. Additionally, Oman has recently cracked down on illegal workers and visa overstayers, which has made the country more cautious in issuing visas to Indian nationals. While tourism is still possible, the overall atmosphere for Indians in Oman has become more restrictive in recent years, making it a less appealing destination in 2024. 4. Kuwait. Kuwait has imposed visa restrictions on several countries, including India, particularly for certain categories of workers and visitors. In recent years, Kuwait has implemented tighter regulations on Indian nationals seeking employment in the country due to concerns about population imbalances and labor market pressures. While it is possible for Indians to visit Kuwait for tourism, the visa process can be long and cumbersome. Furthermore, those seeking work visas may face even more stringent requirements or outright rejections due to the country's recent policy shifts. Many Indian workers in Kuwait also report difficulties with visa renewals and restrictions on movement. As a result, the overall travel experience for Indians in Kuwait can be complex and unwelcoming, making it a less desirable destination in 2024. 3. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has long had strict visa regulations for Indian travelers, particularly for non-Muslim visitors. Although the country has recently opened up to tourism with the introduction of a new e-visa system, Saudi Arabia remains a challenging destination for Indians, especially those who are not visiting for religious purposes, such as the Hajj or Umrah pilgrimage. The country enforces strict laws regarding behavior, dress, and interactions between men and women, which can be difficult for Indian tourists unfamiliar with the cultural norms. Additionally, Indian citizens working in Saudi Arabia as part of the large expatriate labor force often face issues with visa renewals and restrictions on movement, which further complicates travel. While technically possible to visit, the stringent rules and societal restrictions make Saudi Arabia a less welcoming destination for Indian tourists. 2. Bhutan. Although Bhutan does not outright ban Indian travelers, there have been recent changes in its tourism policies that make it harder for Indians to visit. Historically, Indian citizens could enter Bhutan without a visa and travel freely, but in recent years, Bhutan has introduced a Sustainable Development Fee (SDF), which significantly raises the cost of visiting for Indian tourists. As of 2024, Indian visitors must pay a daily fee to travel around the country, which makes it less accessible than it used to be. The SDF was introduced to promote sustainable tourism and to preserve Bhutan's environment and cultural heritage. Additionally, travel to certain remote areas of Bhutan may require special permits. While Indians are still welcome in Bhutan, the new financial barrier means fewer Indian travelers are visiting, and it is becoming less of a popular destination for budget travelers. 1. North Korea. North Korea is one of the most isolated countries in the world, with strict entry regulations for all foreign nationals, including Indians. The country only allows visitors through organized, government-approved guided tours, which are heavily monitored by North Korean authorities. Indian citizens, like most foreign tourists, are not permitted to explore the country independently and must follow the rigid schedules and itineraries set by the government. Furthermore, given the volatile political environment and the country's tense relationship with many nations, including those in the West, travel to North Korea is not recommended by the Indian government. The country has been known to detain foreigners, particularly those from countries that it perceives as hostile. While it is technically possible for an Indian national to visit, the cumbersome visa process, intense scrutiny by North Korean officials, and the overall risks involved make it a highly unadvisable destination. Additionally, the Indian government does not maintain an embassy in Pyongyang, which limits the consular support available to Indian citizens should any issues arise during their stay. The combination of strict controls, political instability, and safety concerns effectively makes North Korea an inaccessible destination for Indians in 2024.